list of courses that you do have to take. You do not have the choice to like say maybe I want to take history or I want to take English. You have to take all the classes that IB offers. And IB has both curricular, so classes requirements, and they also have extracurricular requirements. They do require you to do service and things of that nature, but AP is solely just courses. And AP exams are mostly multiple choice questions, as well as just a few like short answer and essays, but when you go to IB exams, they're mostly writing and just critical thinking questions overall. I was actually just made aware that not all North Carolina schools offer AP, and actually not a lot of North Carolina schools offer IB classes, so here are a list of schools that do offer IB in North Carolina. It is very limited. Majority of high schools do not offer IB, but majority of high schools do offer AP. And I'm pretty sure all high schools offer both honors and standard courses. So in order to get your diploma from North Carolina, these are the requirements that you must take, the classes that you must take. You are not required to take any AP or IB classes. You must take these classes, whether it be honors or standard. There's usually like 2 versions of a class, either standard or honors. You have to take 4 credits of English, up to English 4, and you have to take 4 credits of math. There's math 1, 2, and 3, and then the 4th math you can either choose between AP or honors statistics or like calculus. And then you have to take science. There's either earth science or you can take the AP version, which is AP environmental science. There's biology, there's physical sciences, there's chemistry, and there's physics. And you have the opportunity to take honors, physics, chemistry, or biology, or you can take AP as well. And then there's also social studies. There's world history. There's also an AP version of it. Civics and economics. Also, there is, in most high schools, a AP version of civics and economics. And then there's American History 1 and 2. And then you also have to take a health and physical education class, which is just PE. And usually there's a health class that goes along with it. And then you also have to take 10 credits of electives. There's something called CTE offered in high schools, which is career and technical education. And you'll see that there are some classes within that program. And then there's art classes and also world language classes. Yeah. Can you guys remind, is there honors calculus? Okay, so yeah, calculus in high school is usually offered as AP calculus. So you can go ahead and take that AP exam in order to get it transferred to college. So yeah. So he's saying that his high school does not offer AP classes, so he's asking if he would to take the calculus class in his high school. Is it the same as AP? If your high school does offer calculus, then it's most likely an honors or a standard calculus class, and since you're not offered AP, it would not be transferable, and it's not the same as AP. Yeah. You should be learning the same material overall. I think if the difference between like an honors and an AP calculus class would be that maybe more exams or more regular exams. It's just a little bit harder, but overall it should be the same calculus material. And even if you're not enrolled in any AP class, you can still go ahead and take the AP exam for whatever class you want to take, even if you're not enrolled in it. Does that answer your question? Yes. Okay. And then there's the grading system. It goes from A to F, and F is less than 60, and then it just increases by 10-point increments until an A, which is a 90 to 100. And this is where it gets a little bit complicated. GPA. There's two different GPAs in high school. There's unweighted GPA and weighted GPA. So unweighted GPA is your average grade on a 4.0 scale, and it does not take into consideration how hard the class is. So like it doesn't matter whether or not it's a standard or like an AP class. It all goes towards the same in your GPA. And then there's weighted GPA, which does take into consideration how hard your classes are. And because an AP class can count more than a standard or an honors course, your GPA can be bumped over a 4.0. So you can see here in the second column, unweighted GPA, it goes from a 0 to a 4, which is an F to an A. And then weighted GPA, it goes from a 0.5 to a 4.5. So it goes up by 0.5 increments for each class. So for an honors class, or it goes up by one increment, sorry. So an honors class is one less than an AP class. I've never been good at calculating this type of stuff, but oftentimes you can go to your counselor and they can help you calculate your GPA based off of your courses and your grades. Did you have a question?
Yeah, so like the unweighted GPA is just a 0 to a 4.
Yeah.
And then the weighted would be a 0 to a 5? Or
It goes from a 0.5 to a, yeah, it goes up to a 5 if you're taking AP classes, like any college level classes or IB, but 4.5 is the highest you can get if you're taking honors classes. So if you get an A in an honors class, it's a 4.5, and if you get an A in an AP class, it's a 5. Yeah, so each course has its own weight, and then at the end they add all the courses, and then they take the average of it, and then that's your overall GPA.
So you multiply the number of credits by that score, and then you add them up, and then you take the average.
Yeah. Any questions? I know that was a lot. Okay, thank you.
If the school doesn't offer any of these classes that
Like AP?
yes, is there any way to take these classes in other place or in like week take or
Yeah.
during the high school or in the specific grade? I mean, starting from 9th grade, can like we apply for these classes or?
So I think you can start applying for dual enrollment starting your sophomore year, so 10th grade, I think. Okay, you can start freshman, and you can apply to dual enrollment, which Julia will talk about. And that's another way you can get college credit if your high school does not offer AP. And I think dual enrollment is actually a really good option because I think AP was just a lot more work, to be honest, compared to like dual enrollment classes or college classes. And you don't have to take that extra like AP exam at the end.
Okay.
So if you just pass that class through your community college that you get enrolled in through dual enrollment, then that gets transferred to college. And she'll touch on it a lot more.
This is great. Yes.
Questions? Thank you, Anas. Okay, next is Julia Ibrahim. Julia is going to talk about college credit, like Anas Simon said.
Oh, I don't need this. Okay. Okay.
Oh,
It's okay.
you found it.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about dual enrollment in high school. This looks like a lot. I promise it's not. So I'm going to touch on what it is, why it's beneficial, and how to do it. So what is dual enrollment? Dual enrollment is the process where while you are in high school, you can take college credit courses at a community college for free. So no tuition, free of charge. It's offered through North Carolina's College and Career Promise, or CCP program. Up here, I have the community colleges that are closest to us right now. North Carolina has a total of 58, so you shouldn't have a problem finding one. Community colleges are meant to be local. So here is a really brief list of pros and cons. I'm going to be going more in depth on all of these, but just to read them out really quick. One, pros, college credit courses for free. That's probably like the only time you're going to hear college and free in the same sentence. Two, all Wake Tech courses will redeem transfer credit at a four-year university. Three, you can get ahead on your degree. You can take college course equivalents to AP classes and take one exam instead of two. I'll explain that more specifically. It makes you a more competitive applicant for college, has highly inclusive eligibility. And then these are, I had to think really hard to find these cons. There aren't that many. But one is you'll have to resort to online options if you're unable to make in-person classes. Two, it'll conflict with your high school academic calendar. And three, it's more fast-paced. And I'll be going through all of these more specifically. So the first one and the biggest one is college credit courses for free. So at a North Carolina community college, a high schooler who is dually enrolled will take courses free of charge. This excludes textbooks and other class materials. Most of the time, your classes will not need anything other than a textbook, and not all of them require them. If you do need a textbook, you can rent it. You can find one online that's for free. There are ways to get around that. And then class materials, it would have to be for something really specific like art or something like that. And then up here, I just have Wake Tech's definition of the Career and College Promise Program. I'm going to be talking a lot about Wake Tech specifically in this presentation because I think it's the most familiar to a lot of us, but this applies to any community college in North Carolina. Next, all Wake Tech courses will redeem transfer credit at a four-year university. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Wake Tech has an agreement with all four-year universities in North Carolina saying that in some type of way, whatever class you take at Wake Tech will transfer for credit at a four-year university. Whether the class is a different name, whether it's in a different way, it will redeem you credit. For four-year universities outside of North Carolina, if you know you don't want to go to a school here after high school, I would just check out their transfer equivalency catalog, which will be on their website. Next, you can get ahead on your degree. Getting ahead on your degree doesn't mean you have to graduate early. If you do want to graduate early, this is the way to do it. You can finish a four-year degree in 3.5, 3 years, or even less than that. But this opens up a lot of opportunities like saving you money. Most degrees are 120 credits. The more of these that you take in high school while it's free, the less you'll be paying for them in college. Graduating early if you want to enter the workforce early, having a chance to study in other areas. What I mean by this is if you're able to finish a four-year degree in like 3.5 or 3 years, you can pick up another major or a minor or another field of study and finish that in the same amount of time it would take you to finish one degree. Or get ahead on graduate school. People that want to go to like medical school, PA school, you'll be able to start that early, or like any other master's program or PhD school. This looks like a lot, but I promise it's not. Anna already touched on this. You can take college course equivalents to AP classes and take one exam. So AP exams are college level courses in high school, like Anna said. To get credit for these classes in college, you have to take a second exam. So every class in high school has a final exam for the course. You have to take this regardless of what class it is. But if it's an AP exam and you want to redeem college credit for it, at the end of the year, you have to take an AP exam that's administered through either College Board or if you're taking an IB course through the IB program. And these are only ever offered in May and June. So if you're taking an AP class in the fall between August to like January, and you take the final exam, then you're going to have to restudy all of that course content to take the AP exam for it at the end of the year in May or June. Depending on the class, while you're taking other courses in your spring semester. So that was the hardest thing for me. In high school, you get to register for your own courses, but you don't get to pick when they are. So if you do end up with an AP class in the fall, that's something to think about. You're going to have to study all of that course material for that AP exam at the end of the year. Makes you a more competitive applicant for college. So when applying to a four-year university and having after completed a dual enrollment program, you're showing them that you can already handle college level coursework, and that's what they're looking for. They're looking for someone that's gonna add something to their campus and make them look good. So when you show them that you already have completed and done well in a college level course, they will see you as a more competitive applicant, and it may increase your chance of acceptance. Highly inclusive eligibility. So the idea behind community college is to give everyone the same start no matter where you have been. So they make it very inclusive, and they give everyone a very, very big opportunity to to complete whatever sort of study they want to complete, whether it's a accredited class or a degree, a 2-year degree, whatever it is. So it's not too hard to get into a dual enrollment program. And I'll talk a little bit more about the eligibility. Specifically for Wake Tech, the eligibility criteria for 9th and 10th graders is different than that for 11th and 12th graders. This is straight from Wake Tech's website. I'm gonna go through it really quickly. So at Wake Tech, you have different pathways that you can apply for as a regular student, but as a high school student, dual enrollment student, you have 2 options. You have the career and technical education pathway and the college transfer pathway. The CTE pathway is more arts-based. That will lead you more to getting a certification from Wake Tech for like cosmetics or something like that. College transfer is more science and math-based, and that is something, you're taking more classes that will be able to transfer to something for a 4-year university. So the requirements for 9th and 10th grade are more assessments. They'll look at your like math and ELA class final grades and make sure that you passed with a C or better. For 11th and 12th grades eligibility, that's when they'll start looking at GPA, and the minimum GPA is a 2.8. Yeah, for sure.
So how we can get the links for these? Because
Can I
we
send
cannot
it to you,
see.
Dr. Yusuf? If you go on Google and search Wake Tech Dual Enrollment Program, they have a whole page titled CCP, and it has all these links. That's exactly where I got all of these screenshots from. So going into cons.
If you actually send me your emails, I can forward, because
For
I,
sure.
I will have the presentations of everyone, so.
Yeah. First con, if you don't have a consistent method of transportation, you'll have to resort to online options. I only say this because in high school you get to pick what classes you want to take, but you do not get to pick when you take them. In college you get to pick whether you want it to be online or in person, and you get to pick what days of the week and what times they meet. So if you, like my junior year, I didn't have a car, so I wasn't able to take in-person classes junior year because my parents were at work and I didn't have a method of transportation. So I had to take online options. I just wanted to mention this for high schoolers who probably haven't taken an online course. This will be new to you, but I don't think it's a reason that you should not consider dual enrollment. Your professors have designed the class so that it works online and are always there to answer questions. I have this note up there that you have to take at least 2 classes at your high school to be considered a student there, because I'll touch more on this later, but when you take classes in high school, you take 4 per semester. You can take more than that with dual enrollment if you want, but if you only want to stick to 4, you can do like 1 at Wake Tech and 3 through the school. You don't have to have 4 total classes, but you do have to have at least 2 to be considered a full-time student. And I'll talk about that later in the how to do it. Yeah.
You just go so fast. Can
Sorry.
you just slow down for us? So can you go to the
Yes.
previous page? I forgot the question, actually.
Take your time.
That's so funny. So I miss about, so you apply for a course in Wake Tech and you cannot choose the time and the date?
You can, but
In high school?
if it doesn't work for you, if you don't have a like reliable method of transportation to get there at the time that you picked, because they're not going to be after like 3, 4-ish, like they work on office hours. So if you finish school and want to get there and like don't have enough time, or you leave early and don't have a ride in the middle of the day at 12 o'clock because your family members are at work, then you will have to take the online option if you still want to take that class.
In the high school, you have the option to choose the time.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So most college courses run on 2 cycles, a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or a Tuesday, Thursday option, and then based on what's available, you pick a time on those meetings. So it'll be like 2 or 3 days a week. Yeah. Yes.
I need you to repeat it. So you said if you want to be a full-time student, you should to pick 4 classes.
So in high school, every semester, in the fall semester, you're taking 4 classes, and in the spring
You're
semester,
talking
you're
about
taking
the
4.
regular high school.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, no. So without dual enrollment, you're taking
Yes.
4 in the fall, 4 in the spring. If you want to take more than 4 classes, you can take classes at Wake Tech. I don't recommend taking too many more because it becomes a lot. But say you're taking AP chemistry in high school, and instead of taking the AP version in high school, you just want to take chemistry 101 at Wake Tech. You don't want to take that twice. So
Okay.
you're gonna, I'll like explain how, but you're gonna talk to your school to drop that course, AP chemistry, and tell them it's because you're taking it at Wake Tech. You're taking chemistry 101. So then you'll have like 1st, 2nd, 3rd period, for example, and no 4th period, so you leave early and then go to your chemistry 101 class if it's in person, or just go home early and do it online if you have it online.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Wait.
Hold on.
Because the whole point of we don't have AP classes, the whole point of that was because we go to a private school. I don't
Okay.
think they're gonna allow us to just drop a course like that.
Okay. If you are looking to take, so you said that your school doesn't offer AP classes, right? So you wouldn't need to drop it anyway because you don't have the option. Like with the with the public school example, you have the option to take AP Chem. But if you want to take Chem 101 at Wake Tech, then you would drop AP Chem. But if you don't have AP Chem in the first place, you would just be adding it at Wake Tech. So I don't think you would need to adjust your high school.
Taking normal chemistry at my school.
Okay, but does that
Yeah.
redeem college credit?
No, it doesn't.
Okay, I would talk to a counselor or like an admin at your school and see if, since you're taking it at a community college, there's a way to get around that. If not, I think it is worth taking it twice because if it was the exact same material, it would just give you college credit. But I'm assuming since it's not, it's going to be a little bit different of a course, and you do want that college credit.
Is that correct?
What do you
Like,
mean?
for example, you have to take chemistry first, whether it's standard or honors, before you're eligible to take AP Chem.
Oh yeah, there are
So
certain courses that are like
Yeah, either way, you have to take the high school level Chem or whatever class it is.
Okay. All right, may conflict with your high school academic calendar. So in college and in the universities here, they run on a 16-week schedule for the fall and spring semesters. Your high school schedule, like your fall and spring semesters, are a little bit longer than that with the breaks and the differences in exam periods and things like that. So in high school, you guys start in August, and then you take winter break in December, and then go back in January and finish your exams, your final exams for the first semester, and then you start the second semester. But in college, you spend 16 weeks in the fall from August to early December finishing that semester, and then you have all of winter break with no courses, like active courses, and then you start January with your spring semester classes. So I just wanted to mention this because if you do choose to do dual enrollment, it's important to keep up with both calendars. Don't think that because you're on winter break for Wake Tech, you're on winter break for school and then like miss a bunch of assignments. More fast-paced. It's not going to be crazy fast-paced, nothing you can't handle, but because it is 16 weeks and you have a couple extra weeks for high school, it's going to be a little bit more cramped, and the breaks are different in the academic calendar. Okay, how to apply to the CCP program. This is going to be the same for any community college in North Carolina, but these are the steps that will work very specifically to Wake Tech. So the first step is to go to the community college's website that you want to enroll in. You can start by searching the name and then dual enrollment or CCP program, but if you go to the community college's website, you'll be able to find the tab. Check out the eligibility requirements for the CCP program. Make sure that you have the minimum GPA if they require it. I know for Wake Tech, if you don't meet the minimum GPA requirement, they will admit you if you have a recommendation letter from your principal or another admin. So there's ways to get around it. It's very inclusive. Watch an informational video if available. Wake Tech does have an informational video. It's like 15 minutes. Access the application or email the appropriate staff to receive it. When I was applying to Wake Tech, the application was not on the website. I had to email them to get it, but now it is, which is great. And then lastly, follow the application steps to attach all required documentation, enroll, and register for classes. When you apply, they're going to ask for your transcript, your high school transcript, and they're going to ask you to complete North Carolina residency so they know that you live here, and a few other things. So just make sure you have all of that, probably some other legal documents, but then after that, you'll get your acceptance letter, and then they will walk you through how to create an account with their learning management system and enroll and register for classes.
How
So-
far in advance do you need to apply in order to get in?
They have their cycle dates on the website. If you want to start in the fall, then you have to complete the process in the summer. I'm assuming like June or July because they start in August. Yeah.
So you're saying that if you are in dual enrollment, you have to have 4 courses a semester?
You have 4 classes in high school, so if you want to do dual enrollment, you can either choose to add to the 4, or you can choose to switch them out and stay at 4.
Yes, and these 4 courses
Yes.
doesn't have to be AP. It can be
No.
normal.
No, but if you're taking, the ones that you're taking at Wake Tech are going to be college level, so they're going to be equivalent to AP, but you're going to get credit for that at any college or university.
The original one can be regular
Yes,
standard.
yeah. No,
Okay.
you don't have to be an AP student. You can take like a standard and an honors class, whatever you want. It's just the ones that you are taking at Wake Tech are going to be the college level.
Does not require a minimum number per semester.
No,
Okay.
no. Are you saying like part-time versus full-time student at Wake Tech? Like in regular college and university, they have a part-time and full-time schedule for like financial aid purposes. It's just depending on how many credit hours you take. But as a CCP and dual enrollment student, that doesn't apply to you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Really quickly, these are just screenshots from Wake Tech's page of that same process. So they have an informational video. This is the screenshot of their application. They have like a disclaimer and then the apply now for the application. They have an orientation online and a e-learning intro. Course registration onboarding, so this is everything about how to register for courses and to enroll into Blackboard, which is their domain. And then this is a video on how to register for classes, so they're very specific and very helpful. The high school part of the dual enrollment process, this is really important because you need to notify your school that you're in a dual enrollment program. If you go to your student services website or email them, they will have 2 forms up there. The first one is a late arrival / early release request form, and the second one is a dual enrollment form. You need to fill out both even if they don't apply to you. So the dual enrollment form will apply to you. If you're doing dual enrollment, you need to fill that out. It's gonna ask you for your information and what classes for that semester you're planning on taking at a community college so that they're aware. And then the late arrival and early release request form is for letting them know that with that chemistry example, let's say they gave you AP Chem 4th period and you're taking Chem 101 at Wake Tech, you need to let them know that you're filling out an early release request form so that they can drop that last class for you so you don't have a last class that you're missing for the whole year. Yeah, so the early release late arrival request form, if you're taking like AP Chem, they planned it for you your 4th period of your fall semester, but you want to take it at Wake Tech and you're enrolled at Wake Tech, you're going to fill out this late arrival / early release request form to tell them that you need to drop your 4th period class so that way you're only taking 3 at school, 1 at Wake Tech. When you're registering for classes through high school, you're still going to, like if you're planning on taking chemistry at Wake Tech, you're still going to apply for chemistry in high school and then drop it. So they know that that's what that like gap is for and they don't add another 4th class for you, that's something else. Yes, yeah, even if you're taking an online class because you can't make it to Wake Tech, you're gonna have a missing gap at school, so you're gonna need a way home from school, if that makes sense, unless you just wanna keep all 4 classes, yeah. It's important to note that you have to be there for 2nd period in your high school. You can miss, if you wanna do late arrival, you can miss 1st period and go to 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. If you want to do early release, you can go to 1st and 2nd, and you can miss just 4th or 3rd and 4th, but you have to be there for 2nd because that's your homeroom class. That's where they take attendance, do announcements, and all of that. I learned that the hard way, so make sure you're there for 2nd period.
Yeah, we don't have that either.
Okay, then you probably can just leave for whatever time, I guess. Yeah, I would talk specifically with your counselor if you have that. These are frequently asked questions from Wake Tech's website. The first one is how many classes can a student take each semester, and they said that there's no minimum or maximum, but they're encouraged to meet with their career development coordinator to determine the course load that is most appropriate. And I do recommend that. I wouldn't recommend adding a bunch more. I would stick to 4 because that's what you're comfortable with. How long is the CCP program? You are eligible to participate for 1 freshman, 1 sophomore, 1 junior, and 1 senior year of high school, so as long as you're enrolled in high school. What if my student does not have an unweighted 2.8 GPA? I think I mentioned this already, but they can seek a recommendation from their principal or school counselor to participate in the CCP program, or provide test scores that meet college-ready benchmarks. And that's it. That was a lot, sorry.
The websites and
Yeah.
the links and maybe the PowerPoint. if
Sure.
possible.
Sounds good.
I wanted to verify something. So it is true that if you take courses in Wake Tech, they transfer.
Yes.
The credit transfers. But this does not necessarily mean that it's going to transfer into your degree program.
Yeah, so.
It's your job to verify that it is going to count towards your
Right. So when I was going into college and I was doing dual enrollment, I knew what I wanted my major to be in college. So I took classes at Wake Tech that I knew would work for my degree because I also knew which schools I wanted to apply to. So I checked out their transfer eligibility requirements. But if you aren't sure what you want to major in, or you just want to take a class at Wake Tech that has nothing to do with what you're going to study in college, it will transfer as credit. You'll graduate with more than the amount of credits that you needed for your major, but it won't apply to your major. So let's say I took like a business class for my bio degree. My bio degree is 120 credits. If the business class is 3, I'll graduate with 123, but I still need to take everything that I need for my biology degree. Yeah. No, it won't. Unless you pick up a minor in business or something like that.
So I think the point is do your homework and figure out what you're going to
Yes.
study and figure out what the requirements are before you start
Make it
taking
work for you.
courses.
So if your school already offer you the AP classes and IB courses, do you still need the college? Or
No.
because those are transferable already to college,
They're
right?
transferable, but let me go back up to this slide.
No, she said
They-
honors does
So
not
when you
transfer.
take an AP class in high school, you take the requirement is that you take at least one exam. That exam is going to be the final exam for the course. No matter what class you're taking, standard, honors, or AP, you're going to take a final exam for the course. That's through your high school. If you want your AP class to give you credit at the college you're going to, you're going to have to take a second exam, which is the AP exam, and that's given through College Board. It's you take it at your school, it's administered by your school, but it's through College Board, and same thing for IB. And those are always given at the end of the year in May or June. So one of the downsides to taking AP is if they put you in an AP in the fall, you're going to have to remember that information all the way to May or June. And also, most people that take an AP class are planning on taking the AP exam. Not everyone does, but that's something that you have to sign up for and take and pass. So
And the schools
that's
offer
something
it
to think.
already. The school will tell you.
The
that.
school will offer it, and the instructor of the AP course will, you'll have a College Board login and all of that, and they'll tell you how to register for it. But that process you'll have to do on your own and study on your own. Your instructor's not going to meet with you again in the spring semester,
I see
which
what you
is
want, yeah.
hard. But if you take if you're taking AP Bio in high school and you decide you want to take it at Wake Tech, you take one exam. It's the final exam for that course, and that gives you credit for any college or university in North Carolina because you already showed them that you passed it at an institution. Yeah.
Wait, wait.
So as long as you pass the college course, it's college credit.
Yes,
But
C
if
or
you
better.
don't pass the AP exam, then it's not transferable.
Right. So you could get a 95 in your AP Bio class, and you can get a 95 on the final and end the course with an A. But if the AP exam goes from a 1 to 5 scale, you need a 3 or better to pass. If you get a 2 or a 1 on that exam, you don't get college credit. So you'll pass the course in high school, and if it applies to your diploma, you'll get the credit for it. But there's a possibility that you take that class in high school and you don't get college credit for it.
But if you are dual enrollment and have this course in the college, you already have that credit.
You already have the credit as long as you get a C or better, or whatever their minimum passing score is. Yeah.
I'm gonna say my recommendation. So in high school, I did AP and I did college credit. And when I applied to UNC, they were very picky about the AP college credit that they would accept. So I'm not saying don't do AP, but I would recommend dual enrollment over AP. So if you have 3 AP classes and you want to do more college level classes, I would recommend dropping those AP classes and do more college credit classes because those are more widely transferable, whereas AP, most universities are really selective when it comes to AP credit. So.
To add on to that, to make sure the colleges you're applying to know that you passed the AP exam, they don't care, they'll get your high school transcript and see that you passed, but to show them you passed the AP exam, you have to pay for College Board to send however many copies to all the universities you're applying to, and that takes 6 to 8 weeks for them to see that you passed that course. But if you're taking those classes at a community college, you send your high school transcript, you send your community college transcript, and you're done, and they see all of that. And you get the credit for it. Yeah.
I
Right.
don't know, maybe I'm talking just personal,
Yeah.
but it seems too much for them.
Yeah,
and
I get
also
that.
for their maturity level to be able to do high school plus dual enrollment in a
Yes.
college, and plus, honestly, the time. And then we're asking them to do clubs or do sports.
Right.
But it's only 24 hours in a day.
Yes.
So how are we going to do all of this?
I'll speak, forgetting all of this, I'll speak from my experience because I did do this. It is hard. It's a lot. I'm not going to tell you it's not a lot. But what I did, I never took more than 4 classes at a time in high school. I always if I took like two, you can only drop two maximum from your high school per semester. You have to take at least two in your high school. So there were a couple semesters where I was taking 2 classes in high school and 2 at Wake Tech. And it wasn't easy, and it was during COVID too, so I didn't even have the option to take those Wake Tech classes in person. They were all online, and my high school was online too. So I was at home for like 8-10 hours a day studying for all of these classes, and on top of that, my high school courses were online, but we met over Zoom. My Wake Tech classes were strictly online. We didn't have any meeting times. So like there was one semester I was taking like AP Stat and AP Hug at Human Geography at high school, and I was taking Psychology and Music Appreciation at Wake Tech. It wasn't easy to get through, but I will say, and I think this applies to every single Wake Tech course, that the workload is less than your high school workload. In high school, I would be staying up late, working on assignments, finishing things for those classes that like would take a toll on me. Like I would wake up the next day tired, or I'd have to submit it a day late because of how much I had going on. But at Wake Tech, they usually, the classes that I was taking, and I took classes that applied to my bio degree, so they weren't very like simple. I had one attendance participation assignment per week and one assignment that was just based on the content, and that's it. So what they'll do is they'll open, they call it a module. So they go in 16-week cycles for the semester. They'll have 16 modules, and they'll open it like the entire thing for the week. So on Sunday night at 11:59, it'll open all the way up until the next Sunday. They tell you everything you need to do, and you have 7 days to do it. So you'll have like an attendance discussion board to show that you're present, and you'll have that assignment, and then they'll have like lecture videos or notes or PowerPoints, and you get through that on your own time, however your best method of studying is, and then take the exam whenever you want, which is also usually open for a couple days period. So I will say that the course itself, like the information might be a little bit tougher, but they make it so that you have less physical assignments, so you have more time to study the actual content. So I would say that like my high school courses were actually a little bit more fast-paced, not literally because of the schedule, but I would say that the content was hard. Like we'd have an assignment for every concept, but at Wake Tech I had more time to actually understand the material. I started my junior year, so it's new that all 4 years can participate. Before, freshmen and sophomores couldn't. You could only start junior year. My junior year was when COVID, it was 2020, COVID had just shut everything down, and I started with a full load. I started 2 at Wake Tech, 2 in high school, and I continued it for all 4 semesters up until when I graduated. Yeah. Right. No, I wouldn't, this is not something you have to do all 4 years. This is a lot. This is something you can pick up for a little bit. I also, something else I didn't mention in the PowerPoint, but it's an option available to you. If you're gonna enroll in a dual enrollment program, you're a student there, so you can sign up for summer classes. If you wanna stay, like everything stays the same for your fall and spring, and you have 4 classes in high school, go for it. And then you can take like an online class in the summer. Summer classes are not much easier because they go on a 5-week schedule, so they're even shorter, but you don't have anything else going on. Yeah. No, you can take 1, you can take 0. There were semesters where I ended up dropping a course, so I ended like up a couple weeks into the semester not having anything, and then I didn't have to re-enroll or anything the next fall. I would just sign up for courses, re-register. So I didn't have to, it's very, they're very like lenient. They're there to help you for sure. Yeah.
I want to say something real quick because I know you touched on like how it might be a lot for a high school student. As a student who did IB, AP, dual enrollment, and extracurriculars, I will say that it is a lot to handle, and it's not for everybody whatsoever. Like mental health is definitely more important than, you know, like getting the best grades or trying to do every single thing that's offered to you. But I would try to find the best thing that you think will be good or more suitable for you and your path. Like, I would agree with them, and I would say that dual enrollment is definitely better than any of the other options because, one, I feel like
For sure.
Yeah.
This is something that's supposed to like make your life easier. It's not supposed to be an addition, it's supposed to be a substitute. So if you feel like it's not going to serve you, don't do it. Yes, yeah. The biggest thing for this, right. You don't have to, I think I mentioned like you don't have to graduate early when you do dual enrollment. Like the purpose is not to finish your degree in 2 or 3 years. You like the college applicant pool is so competitive these days. You have to find very weird different ways to make yourself look better and stick out. And this is one of those ways. When you're taking an AP course, anyone in high school can do that. But when you're applying to a dual enrollment program, you're showing them you already handled their 16-week academic calendar. You already know how to speak professionally with a professor. You can do well in a college course class, whether it be in person or online. And that gives you a letter of recommendation. If you don't do well in a course, don't ask for one. That's fine. Like, things happen. But that gives you another connection. So it opens up so many doors that you don't get in high school. The biggest purpose of this and like this whole talk is to give you other opportunities to make you look different. If I didn't think this was helpful, I wouldn't be representing it. And if I thought that high school is enough, then go for it. But unfortunately, it's not enough these days. People are crazy, so.
And at the same time, like, you don't always want to take the easy way out in high school, because after high school, it's college. And college is a lot harder than high school. So it is sometimes good to challenge yourself as much as possible, even if you're going to be stressed, because that's the reality of college. That's how it's going to be in college all the time.
And I do want to say, I think the stress that I had in high school was worth it at the end, because I'm not saying overstress yourself to the point where you're burnt out for college, because I do feel like I was a little burnt out when I was going into college. But I will say I'm really grateful that I took opportunities like dual enrollment and AP and IB, because I saw the people around me that didn't take those things, and they seemed more overwhelmed about college than I was. And also, I don't have to take as many classes in college that I would have had to take if I didn't do those things.
That she reminded me of something. I just finished my freshman year at ECU. There were many times. I don't mean this in like a conceited way at all. There were many times that I was asked a question that I thought to myself, like, a few years ago I was so confused about this, but now I'm at the level that like people my age are asking me things that I already knew about, and I owe it all to already having been enrolled in a college. Like, it's not a 4-year university, it's a 2-year college, but it did teach me a lot. It's there to help you though. If you feel like it's adding a lot, don't do it. You can enroll for a semester, drop the course after 6 weeks. They give you like, I think it's 6 weeks after the first day of class to drop the class, and it has no effect on your transcript. It doesn't list anything. It's like you never took it. Do that. Try it. Try a summer course. Unenroll if you don't like it after that. They're like, there's no penalty. It's free. You're not losing anything. But I definitely recommend trying it.
If I were to add one thing, nobody's advocating that you do this. It is really more of information, but I think ultimately your child has to make that decision. You cannot make that decision. This is not Sanawi Amma, like Vivian said. It is really not. They have choices, and this is an option. And if they choose to do this, they are going to. I mean, the truth is, people do it. So it is not undoable. It is doable, but they have to commit to doing it in order to succeed in it. You cannot make them commit to it. And that's their choice. That should be their choice. Thank you.
Yeah.
Do I really want to apply for a dual or not? You know what I mean? Just to get them to think about it. Is that good for my future or not? I think I would see that they would benefit from a session like that. Because now it seems like its own parents.
To have it in the Sunday school time, after Sunday school time, so they are here. Because
He's my friend.
Yeah. But I think it's great that parents are here to like encourage and give that support system as well. So
It is in live stream, except for Christina's talk. I think we started it right after that. But it is on live stream, and I think this was requested by parents, so I'm not faulting the kids for not showing up. We told them it's both. Oh, there is an outing now for a Star game. So, yeah. So next year, if there is demand for this again, because now we know everything that we need to know. But if there is demand, we're gonna organize it a little bit earlier, maybe in the middle of the fall. Yeah, but it is, but
Yeah.
I think the
They need to know it too, yes.
because the truth is sometimes they do ask these questions individually, and they get the answer individually. Now you can all know the same. So the fourth talk is by Julie Marie Alexandre, and she's going to talk about early college. Please.
yes.
Thank you.
Hopefully you guys aren't tired out by the information today, but I'm gonna try to go through this as simple and quickly as possible. So the topics we're gonna go over, I have it listed right there, but I'm gonna go over those. But some info about me: I go to UNC Chapel Hill. I'm going to be a sophomore next year, and I am majoring in neuroscience and psychology. And I graduated from North Wake College and Career Academy with my EMT certification and 40 college transfer credits. So I'm just going to touch base on what early college is in general. Early college is a program that allows high school students to simultaneously earn college credits and credentials while in high school. So if you're worried about the whole dual enrollment process, which I still encourage that you do that if you don't plan on going to an early college, but there are schools that do embed dual enrollment in their curriculum at school. So that's why I went to an early college. And the purpose of my presentation is not to overwhelm you. It's really just to tell you about the benefits of early college and my experience with it. And there will be a Q&A at the end. So a little overview. So North Carolina during COVID hasn't really had the greatest education as we were showing before COVID. So North Carolina has been starting to embed the early college concept into their schools more, which I think is great. And the early colleges that are most popular within this area, I listed them right here in blue, and I am going to go over them real quick. So most of these are more STEM-based, but the school that I went to is not just STEM, but it's also other things like business, culinary, teaching, and I'll go over that. But the first early college that I heard is really great, and it's located in Cary. They partnered with NC State, the university, and Wake County to give students the full STEM education. And it is recommended for kids who love science, technology, engineering, and math. Another school that also does a very similar thing is Wake Early College of Health and Sciences. This is located in Raleigh. If I would have known about this school, I probably would have went to this one. But it's more healthcare based. So if your student is looking into medicine or healthcare, I would recommend looking into the Health and Sciences Early College. They are partnered with Wake Tech with their health department and just their North Campus. And the other school is GD Clement Early College. This is located in Durham. And it is an early college that aims to prepare students for, again, just college success. And I'm not really sure what, I think they're with Durham Tech, but I have heard that students are completing 2 years full of college so that when they go into college, they are able to get their bachelor's degree in just 2 years. So I think that's awesome. Like instead of the 4 years of college that you have to take for your bachelor's degree, it's just 2 because of the 2-year credit, college credit that you're taking at that school. And then the school that I went to is starred at the bottom. It's called Northwake College and Career Academy. This is located in Wake Forest. And it's really designed for career exploration. So if you're unsure, if your student is unsure of what they want to do, I would recommend Northwake because they have a variety of programs. I know their most popular is the business and IT and EMS. I did the EMS program and I really loved it. I wasn't too sure that I wanted to do medical. I grew up wanting to do it, but I wanted to be completely sure. And being in the EMS program really convinced me to do medical. And medical's medicine's a very rigorous path. So you have to really want it. So I decided to do medical. So yeah, because of the school. So I was really grateful for that. So for the benefits, so the first one, accelerated academic progress. Really, you're just getting a head start in your education. And you're really showing off that, that you can do it. You can do college while doing other things like extracurriculars, and college applications do really like seeing that. Another one is cost savings, which is something that Julia touched on with dual enrollment, is that there's not a lot of fees that you have to pay. It's reduced or to none fees. And you're just getting the full college education. So I think it's worth it for sure. Because college is getting really expensive nowadays, so I would keep that in mind. Smooth transition into college. This is something I kind of talked about, where I felt more prepared, even though I was really stressed in high school. I think it was well worth it because I felt more prepared for college than some of my other peers. And I wasn't as overwhelmed because I kind of knew what the college environment looked like, and I knew what I was getting into, so, yeah. The college app advantage, I think that whether you're doing dual enrollment, AP and honors classes, or early college, those are all great, and I think if you're at least showing on your college applications that you are at the college level and that you can do it and that you are prepared for college, then I think you'll be fine for college. Everyone makes college such a big stressful thing. It is, but I really do encourage just take it day by day. Don't be too stressed with college applications so much that it takes over your high school experience. And work readiness. Other than my EMT certification in early college, I was able to earn other certifications. So I'm certified in Microsoft, I'm certified in Adobe. So the technology classes that you are taking at the early colleges, or just any topic, it could be art, music, those electives, you can be certified in big companies, which I think is great. If over the summer I want to do something in Microsoft and I'm unable to find something in medicine, I can still put that on my resume and say, well, I have Microsoft experience. So, and again, so if you're considered a college student, there comes the college benefits. So if you are looking for help and you need help with just your college courses or just high school in general, you are provided with the counseling, the tutoring, the access to college resources like their libraries and their websites and their extracurricular activities and clubs. You have access to all of that. So I think that's really beneficial. And also those college student discounts, those are really nice to have. But yeah, if you're worried that early college is gonna be a lot on my kid, it's like a lot of work, they're just doing college work all day, they have those resources, they have advisors, they have counseling, they have free tutoring, so those are available to them. Alrighty, so the admissions process, it is different for every school. So if you guys need help, if you need help with the application process, I left my information on the slides. But it is different for every school. But mainly you're gonna wanna look at the eligibility requirements and criteria for the programs. So they may require you or your student to take certain classes in middle school to make sure that you're eligible for the early college programs, and also like residency and stuff like that. And then also making sure that you're paying attention to the deadlines. Those will be located on like most websites. If not, again, I could help you find that. And then just understand that they are still a little more selective for early college schools. So don't be discouraged if you don't get into an early college, apply to another one. So like one of them will take your student, and yeah, so don't worry too much about that. So now I'm gonna be talking about my experience.
Early college school, you taking college classes in the school. You don't have to go to community college or
Yeah, so
this is right?
yeah, so it's a high school plus college. So it's like, so they slip in college courses in
Okay.
your classes.
So you still gonna take the regular classes for high school plus classes for college at the same time, or how it's gonna work? I mean,
So for my school specifically, we don't have standard classes. We only offer, you can only get into honors, AP, or college.
okay.
But they do it in a way where it's not, they're just putting all that work onto you. They try to really ease you, like they try to ease you into it until they know that your student is like, sorry, I lost my words. Until they're comfortable enough to
start for
to
the
start
next
for
level.
college. Yeah, and I didn't start all of my college courses until junior year. But I know they're starting to do freshman year, kind of like dual enrollment, like what Julia was saying. But yeah, they're trying to ease you in freshman and sophomore year. You are still taking high school classes, but they're not standard. They're like honors classes. I've never taken a standard class. I've only taken an honors, AP, or college class. So they really want to encourage challenging your student a little more, like kind of pushing them to try to get into the college atmosphere, but they don't just force it all into your
But you said
student.
during the middle school you have to take some specific classes to be qualified for early college school.
I think
or
it's just
that-
the basic like classes, like
I mean, how you apply? I mean, what do you like have to? Yes, the transcript for middle school. You should to like get certain grades to be qualified for early college school, or what? Or anybody can apply for early college
they just
school?
want to see that your kid is has that will to really work hard. So you don't need perfect grades in middle school. They're like too young to really focus too much on grades. But they do want to see. They don't want to see C's and D's and F's. But if you have a couple B's and stuff like that, that's completely fine. But they do want to see that your student is eligible to take higher level classes, because we don't offer the regular standard classes. they're going to be put into honors and AP classes. They still get to choose what kind of honors and AP classes they want to take, but they don't have the option to do standard or regular classes.
For the middle school eligibility, I skipped like 8th grade. Does that matter? Like,
I don't think
at
so.
all?
If you pass middle school, I think,
Can you transfer after you already in high school to early college?
yeah,
Can you transfer to early college
You
after
can,
you are in
yes.
high school?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's an application with a deadline in the middle of the year, and you need to apply for it for
Yeah.
the following year. Okay.
So it's just depending on semester. So if they started first semester, but you want to put them second semester into an early college, make sure that you reach that second semester deadline for that application so that they're able to enroll for a second semester.
So it's per semester, not per year.
Yeah,
Per semester, the
per
deadline
semester.
per semester. Thank you.
at least for my school. Again, some early colleges are a little different, but most of the time, yes. Do you guys have any more questions? Okay, cool. I don't want to go too fast. Okay. So I'm just going to be speaking on my experience. So again, I really wanted to explore my options and do some career exploration to really be sure that I wanted to do medicine. They had amazing honors and AP classes. I didn't feel too stressed with those classes, as like I've heard from like other schools, where I would talk to my friends and they would feel so overwhelmed with their AP and honors classes, whereas I feel like my school did a good job to really ease that stress and to kind of help me get through it and provide those resources that I needed. And, oh, sorry.
Yeah. What do honors and AP classes look like? Like, how are they harder? Because my school is like a lot different.
Did you guys touch on it? Because I've never taken a standard class, so I can't really compare.
So I feel like, so I've taken standard, I've taken honors and AP, and I think they each have a different level of difficulty, whether it be in just like the coursework, more exams, more coursework, things like that, and also just the material itself is harder.
I think there's more like self-teaching as well when it comes to AP and honors AP in college classes, where it's you really have to be responsible for your work and do what's expected of you, like what he was talking about. And where was I? Oh, okay. I was I was in the EMS program, and so they exposed me to real life medical experience. So I was driving the ambulance, I was picking up strokes, and I was picking up heart attacks, and I was able to see right in front of me what medicine was firsthand. And they didn't just leave me, they didn't just like put me there. They gave me the resources, they taught me the skills, they really, we did like hands-on stuff in class so that I will be prepared for those real life medical situations. While doing so, I was able to not only complete the EMS course, but I got my EMT certification, which is great. So I'm able to work as an EMT while in college and still get that medical experience that med applications, like that's way like far from now, so don't worry about that right now. But when you're in college, that is something you do have to consider is the medical school applications. So I really kind of looked more ahead into my future and was like I really needed that medical experience and clinical hours for college, so that's why I decided to do that and save myself time during college too. So, and yeah, I was able to make connections with healthcare workers, not only firefighters and EMTs and paramedics, but also people within the hospital. And I wanted to highlight connections are really important for the future. So if, like, let's say you need a recommendation, you can ask them for one, and hopefully they'll give it to you. And yeah, so I thought that was really important to add. And again, the teachers know what they're doing. They are specialized in making your child ready for college, and they're like really special. I think that my teachers have really enhanced my college readiness, so I really appreciate them for that. I put some pictures in so that you could see, but yeah, I that's me wearing a vest, my EMS vest, and that's me with one of my paramedics that I worked with, and some of the hands-on stuff that we did in class, and just me in the back of an ambulance, so y'all could look at that. And in conclusion, these are things that I've already went over, but just the key points. Early college programs in North Carolina offer accelerated academic progress, cost saving, smooth transition into college, higher graduation rates, increased college enrollment, improved workforce readiness, and early exposure to career pathways. This is a great opportunity to earn college credits while in high school, reducing time and cost of obtaining a degree. Some colleges may even offer you an associate's degree as you graduate high school. So I think that's awesome. Early college programs provide valuable support systems. Again, your students will have those resources. If they're struggling in a class, you will have that free tutoring. If they need to talk to an advisor, there's a bunch of people that can help you for that. So, and yeah, I think that's basically it. And yeah, it's okay if you don't decide to do early college. If it isn't for you, you can look over the things that we've discussed, like dual enrollment, AP, and honors classes, and etc. And also, if you want to do EMS and you're not in an early college like I am, Wake County does have an after-school program. It's called the Cadets Academy, and you do get to do EMS, but just after school, so it's not during class time like early college. You can just do it after school, so I think that's awesome. And yeah, I have my contact info up there, and just a reminder, just trust in God. I have a little Bible verse up there, but yeah, just leave your future in God's hands, and as long as you put in the work and understand the opportunities God has given you, you will do just fine. So,
I have a question for you. So one of your first slides had a list of early colleges in Raleigh. Was that it? And these are all the colleges that exist in this area, right?
no, they're the most popular. There's about, I think there's about 86 in North Carolina, but I just put the most popular ones and the ones I've heard from friends that they really, really liked. So I put those down. So mostly like the most recommended ones are up there. But again, if those, the ones I listed, if those don't work for you, I can totally help you find another one that's great for your kid. So.
Okay. So you said you earned 40 credits from that school before
Yes.
even entering the university, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so sorry for this question, but
No, it's
I
okay.
feel a lot of people should be doing that. Why is there? Can you think of why more students aren't doing it? Just because it's hard, or?
From what I've heard a lot of people say is, are you really getting that high school experience? Like, are you really enjoying high school, doing all of that work? And my response was, I mean, I'm kind of not, but at the same time, I'll be enjoying college more. So yeah, it won't be as stressful. Not saying college is not stressful, because it is, but I think it does benefit.
Do you have this presentation for middle school parents? Because they need it before they go to the high school. So you are needed for middle school.
Thank you.
But we still have a chance to transfer if you want.
Yeah, of
So
course.
thank you.
Thank you.
Any more questions? More questions? Thank you very much, Shireen. And now Abuna, guess what Abuna is going to talk to us about. But really, really seriously, we pay too much attention for academics and we don't pay enough attention for spiritual aspects. And one of the biggest challenge for your child when they go to college is going to be spiritual. I'm telling you this from experience, not my own experience, but from the kids that I see in college.
Yeah, I'm trying to make it work now. It's called Archangel Church. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God, amen. I just need like 2-3 hours of your time, and then I'll be done. I know you guys have had a long day. I promise not to take that long. What I was requested to talk about was how to maintain spiritual life with an academic life. And I want to first start out by kind of saying maybe that's a wrong way to look at it. Forgive me. And the reason why is because I think we tend to look at spiritual life as a thing, and then academic life as a thing, and then work life as another thing, and then I got my friend life and my family life, and it's all this stuff. I think a better way to look at it would be if like the image that I like to use is like a house. So the foundation of the house, the roofing, is the spiritual life, and each room is something else. One room is family life, one room is school life, whatever it may be. And so I had this presentation, believe it or not, this was the very first talk I've ever given in my entire life as a servant in the church, was this talk. And that just goes to show you that like the lessons that we need to learn, they're timeless. I think I made this PowerPoint in 2017, so it was a long time ago, and at least that doesn't seem like a long time ago now. But yeah, and I gave the talk to fellowship in the St. Mary's Church across the street. And it was to talk about how to live that balanced life. And I'm not in any way saying that I have achieved the most balanced life, but this is everything that I learned growing up, both here and from spiritual advisors and learning from some of the youth that I grew up with as well. So let's go ahead and start. So the goal is to talk about how to live a balanced life in Christ. And please feel free to interrupt me with any questions that you may have, okay? So can somebody name a few challenges that you may have or that a student may have? All of this applies to all ages, by the way. It's not just for high schoolers or for middle schoolers, whatever it may be. What are some of the challenges that we have to living a balanced life? Peer pressure. What else? Say again. Time. Anything else? Laziness, that's a good one. Boredom. I get kind of bored. What else? Stress. Social media. That one's like a vague one. What about social media? Because there's like 100 in social media. It's a distraction. That's a good one. That's a good way to summarize it. Good? These are all the basic like challenges that we all face at every age and at every level, okay? But there's a quote here from St. Anthony the Great that I want to share. He says, without discernment, one cannot acquire any virtue. Without discernment, one cannot acquire any virtue. What is discernment? Excellent. To be able to navigate what is the difference between right and wrong. And he says that without that, you won't be able to acquire any virtue. Now, what's a virtue? I mean, you should know this word. This is a Christian word. Do you guys ever hear like virtue and vice? Those are opposites. Not just a good habit. The way I think of virtue is it's kind of like the fruits of the Spirit, right? It's kind of like love, patience, kindness, gentleness, self-control, all those things. A virtue is something that you can have into your spiritual life that is supposed to keep you in a healthy shape, right? Keep you athletic in the spiritual life, if you can use that word. So then St. Anthony the Great is saying, unless you can discern the difference between right and wrong, you're not going to be able to acquire any sort of virtue in your spiritual life, right? And so in other words, what he's really saying here is that you cannot achieve a balance in your spiritual life unless you know what the extremes are. Unless you know what the extremes are. And so some examples of the extremes. An extreme of money is called what? What's that vice called? An extreme love of money, greed. What about an extreme love of, like sexual pleasure? What is that called? Lust. An extreme love of power. That's a big one. What's that one called? It can be exercised through violence, but what is the vice called? Pride. Where I put myself above everyone and everything, including God, right? And so then, if that's what the extremes are, so then the virtues are attained by fasting from that vice. Let me repeat that. If you want to attain the virtue of patience, it means you fast from the thing that takes away your patience. Does that make sense? You guys with me? Good? Good so far? All right, so I'll give you an example. Fasting from anger is acquiring what? Patience. Fasting from complaining and being greedy is acquiring contentment. Fasting from laziness is acquiring diligence, persistence, right? And so some of these challenges that we face, having FOMO, work life, stress, school, routines, whatever, all these things, all those things tend to stop us from having the virtues that we're supposed to be cultivating in our spiritual life. Good? Okay. So I think first and foremost, the most important thing to have when you are working on your spiritual life is consistency. And that's what we're going to talk about just for a bit. What is consistency, why, and how we can obtain it. So first, what is consistency? Consistency includes these four things, but it's not just limited to these four things. The first thing is having a routine. Having a routine that is something that you'll be doing on a daily basis. This is how you obtain something to be consistent. Being disciplined in it, meaning like doing this thing, this goal of mine is more important than anything else. That's a discipline, right? Being persistent in it, meaning like even when the going gets tough and I have a lot of stress from school and X, Y, and Z excuses, I'm still doing it. I'm still caring about it. I still value it. And then last, but definitely not least, being honest. In order to be consistent with something, you got to be honest with what it is you're achieving, what it is you're chasing after, and what it is that's stopping you from getting it. This is all theory right now, and I'm going to break it down, all right? Any questions so far? Good? Okay. So why be consistent? What's the opposite of consistency with God? Whenever we are inconsistent with our relationship with God, what causes that is sin. And I know that sometimes sin is looked at as a list of rules, and I broke one of the rules. That's not at all what sin is. And sometimes you hear, like when we teach little kids, sin is when you're separated from God. But that's a problem if we're teaching older kids that. Why? What's the problem with teaching that we're separated from God when we sin? There is a problem with it. That you're not with him, but the opposite even more. That somehow God is not with me. That somehow I can be somewhere where God is not. Because I made a mistake, or I did something that I really wanted to do that's not good for me, right? That's not real. We cannot be anywhere that is where God is not, right? Sin is actually defined as straying away from what we're called to be. You know, the Greek word for sin is amarteia. This is what the word is in Scripture. Amarteia, if you were to transliterate it, it literally means to miss the mark, to miss the target, right? And you learned about that? Yeah, good. I'm happy you did. Because that's something that we all need to understand. This is how we as Orthodox Christians look at sin. It's when I've missed my target, which is if you use the imagery of like a guy that is an archer, he has a bow and arrow, and I missed my target. What was the target? Being with God?
Or
No.
like
It's up there.
it's
So if sin is...
the TV's wonky.
Oh, no. Well, that's not good. What's the point of that? So go ahead and guess. What do you think the target is? If sin is when I miss my target, then what is the target? Being like God? Very good. It's being in the image and likeness of God, right? I'm one of these, like, you know, if you ask a priest or anybody Christian, that's what's their favorite. Why is it zoomed in? That's weird. Okay. Okay. So, if you ask any priest or any Christian, like, what's their favorite verse? My favorite verse is Genesis chapter 1, verse 27, which is when God was creating everything. Like, he got to the point where he was creating humans, and he didn't create humans the same way that he created everything else, right? And when he created the sun, it says, he said, "Let there be light," and then there was light. right? When he created the vegetation and the fruits and everything, he said, let there be fruits and all this vegetation, and then there it was. But when it came to humans, it said, like he delegated for a second between the Holy Trinity. And it's like they had a council meeting and said, what are we going to do? And it says in the scripture, let us make man in our image and likeness. Let us make man in our image and likeness. And if you can think of like, what's the greatest thing that anyone can receive from God? It would be his own image, right? And that sounds very theoretical, but let me just explain it in simple terms. What does it mean to be in the image of God? Well, my father's name is Ahmed. So I am in the image of Ahmed, right? And for all of you that have parents, you all have parents, you're made in the image of your parent, right? But notice the verse said that we're made in the image and likeness of God. The likeness part is not innate. It's not natural. It's something that we're called to do, and I have to make a choice to do that. I have to be in his likeness. I have to be like him, right? But I can't go to my father today and be like, Ahmed, I'm not your son anymore. I can say it all day. I can believe it, but it doesn't change anything. Naturally, I am made in his image. And the same thing with God. We can sin all day long. We can be completely separate, if you want to use that language, from God, but it doesn't change who I am. It doesn't change my identity. I'm already made in the image of God, and that's permanent. But I can choose to not be like him. So anyways, why be consistent? Because when we are not consistent, that means I was choosing not to be in the image and likeness of God. And consistency is one of the best ways that we can combat that, how we can fight off the problem of sin, especially when it comes to when our life gets busy when we get to school, especially when it comes to high school and college. Okay. So there's a series of pictures I'm going to show you. We're going to kind of break them down. I got to zoom in on them. All right, what does that look like? Can we see it? What does it look like? What do you guys see? Yeah, there's a monk doing a matanya in his cell. Good? Okay. Right here, what do you see? The Bible, so a book, right, with a little cross rosary on it. Good. Okay, what do you see here? A house altar? I like that. I've never heard it being called that before, but yeah, I like that. Sometimes this is called a prayer corner. Okay? Good. What is this? What do you see there? Not praying only. What is he? He's in the middle of confession, right? So he's confessing, and as he's confessing, the angel is fighting off a demon that's currently fighting him. This one should be obvious. Those are the altar vessels, right? It represents liturgy. Good. And then this one may not be as obvious, but what does this kind of look like? They're not praying. I know it may look like they're praying. They're not praying. What does this look like? It's too specific. More general. Talking, conversation, just fellowship, hanging out, right? And then last but not least, this one might be hard to guess. This is Zacchaeus, but why would I put this in here? I'm about to list a whole list of things that I think are needed to balance your spiritual life with all the other things in our lives. And this is what these pictures are representing. What would that be? If you can't guess it, I'll get to it. He was stealing money, and then he did what? He changed. He repented. Excellent. Good. Okay. All right, let's explain all of these pictures here. So the first one is having a spiritual rule, okay? We all need one. We all need to have a rule in our life, and I think in Arabic, someone correct me if I'm wrong, this is qanun ruh. Is that right? Rohi. Okay, my spirit. All right, that's cool. A spiritual rule. Raise your hand if you've never heard of this before. Okay, so everyone knows what a spiritual rule is. I'm guessing that means you all have a spiritual rule. Okay. Then I'm going to be speaking to the ones that are listening on Zoom and to those that are around you that may not know. It's on all of us, you as well, to make sure everyone has a spiritual rule. This is one of the most important things in the Orthodox life. And what a spiritual rule is, the way I describe it to some of the youth that don't really know what it is if you've ever woken up one day and kind of forgot to like brush your teeth or something because you were really late for wherever you were going, and then all day long you felt like you had this bad taste in your mouth because you forgot to brush your teeth. When you skip a spiritual rule, it's kind of like that. It's like your soul or your spirit has like bad breath. And the spiritual rule is supposed to be the recharge, the cleaning for your day so you can take on the day. Does that make sense? This is the spiritual rule. What it is supposed to be is according to you, only you. It should be tailored to who you are and your schedule and your spiritual needs. And the only person that can give that to you is your father of confession. What it may look like is it could be a collection of doing matanyas, prostrations, reading something from scripture, certain kinds of prayers. It could be reading a spiritual book. It could be doing a project. I once gave an assignment for someone to make a PowerPoint as their spiritual rule, and they did it, and it was amazing. And it was this PowerPoint that I used before in a lecture. And so the spiritual rule is supposed to be something that is consistent. It should be something that we take on every single day and not skip a single day, right? I even tell like my own father confession told me this. Whenever I skip my spiritual rule, write it down and let him know, so that he like keeps a log of whenever I skip it, so that he can keep me accountable. But the spiritual rule is something that really shows God that we truly do value him, and that I'm not going to just be a Christian because I know I'm supposed to be. But it's like I'm doing the romantic gesture to God by doing my spiritual rule. It's like I want to spend my time with you. I want to spend my time talking with you, praying with you. I want to spend my time reading about you, learning more, gaining from God, and also giving, right? The spiritual rule shows that we are committed, and it shows that we value. The rule should be, like I said, according to your schedule, to your lifestyle. But anything that I say in this talk, please run by your spiritual guide before doing anything. Sorry, my iPad is acting crazy. The rule should also be realistic. I once had somebody who told me that they wanted to start, like they just discovered the Egbeah and like the beauty of it. And so they started reading the Egbeah all of the hours. And this person was, I think, in college at the time. And I was like, how are you doing this? How are you getting every hour in? And he's like, oh, I group in a few hours, wake up early in the morning and do them all. And then I do the rest at night. And I just make it work. It was about 2.5 weeks into that. And he was like, I can't do it anymore. Because it was just too much all at once, right? We shouldn't go from 0 to 100 when it comes to being more athletic in our spiritual life. But we need to, like a true athlete who's training, take it step by step, right? But we shouldn't make that ourselves. We ask our fathers of confession to do that for us. So be realistic with it, and obviously don't compromise. Because the moment you do, that means you've lost value in it. And that means if you've lost value in it, you've lost value in God himself, God forbid. But that simply means that you just don't really care. Prayer corner. This is something that my spiritual guide really taught me and is extremely important to me. Prayer corner is basically having a little tiny church inside of your house, whether it be in your room or in another room of your house, whatever it may be. But it's decorated like an altar. You can get a bunch of icons, get candles, and do whatever you want to make it look nice. Get like red curtain, whatever you want. And the prayer corner is really important because it shows you a sense of like, I'm in the church every time I enter or walk past this place, right? Whoop. Thank you. And so it gives you a sense of like, every time I walk past my prayer corner, I'm reminded of, oh, I have to do my spiritual rule. Oh, I have to remember to do this. Oh, I have to remember God. I can't forget God in my life, right? And so it helps build that consistency as well. Some don'ts in your prayer corner. You should not eat there. These are actual things that people have reported to me. I'm just saying. You should not be eating in your prayer corner. You should not be playing there. You shouldn't be on your phone there. You shouldn't be texting there. Nothing. I once asked Abu Angelos in Chapel Hill, like we were having a conversation about prayer corners. And his mentality is that if you're going to use your phone to pray, he's like, that's it. The phone belongs in the prayer corner now. You have to buy another phone, right? Like it's the sense of like it's consecrated and it's holy and it doesn't change, right? Those are the don'ts in your prayer corner. Things to do in your prayer corner. Pray, obviously. Read your Bible. Do spiritual readings. Listen to things. Do your matanyas, meditations, journal, whatever it may be. Any kind of spiritual work, but only spiritual work should be done in the prayer corner. I always was taught that when I'm praying like the Thanksgiving prayer, where we say in the Thanksgiving prayer, and from this your holy place, right? This is when and during the liturgy, this is when Abuna crosses the congregation. My father confession was like, you can cross your prayer corner, just take your hand and do that, right? and get into the habit of crossing things with the sign of the cross and blessing things. Because what it is inserting God into those things. Start with your prayer corner and take it out into everything, right? You see, sometimes, like, I learned this from, I think it was Amuatif here. When I was in high school, I saw him yawn one time during like Tezbaha or something, and he did this. He was crossing his mouth as he was yawning. And so now I built a habit ever since then of doing that, right? And so this is something that you can take into everything in your life. Building a sense of like, I'm bringing the cross into everything in my life. Good? Of course, the prayer corner, it gives you an intimacy with God. You've made a private place just for you and him only. And it shows that you value him. And of course, God values us even more than we can even value him. And not just spiritually, but we show our value physically as well, not just spiritually. Okay. Next is liturgy. You should have liturgy as a weekly thing in your life, no matter what. This should not be something that is skipped. And the reason why is because this is a sacred time of the week. Like, God himself, when he gave them the law, what was one of the things that they were supposed to keep? The Sabbath. There was a single day that was meant to be dedicated just for resting, not just physical rest, but resting in the Lord, right? Resting in the presence of God. They were allowed to do spiritual work on that day, right? But then, like, they kind of got carried away with it, with what is the kind of spiritual work, but we're not going there. God has always infused us with this idea that there should be a time consecrated to God. And this is what liturgy is for, right? And I know I'm kind of being harsh up there, but I have finals and I can't go this weekend is not really an excuse. In fact, it should be the opposite. It should be that I have finals, I need to run to liturgy. Because the liturgy is what prepares us. It releases, right? We can de-stress when we come out of liturgy. There's so many liturgies I can't even count on with a single number where I entered into liturgy with like internal fight and I walked out as if I just got a massage. Because it's like it's over. Like I fought and the fight is done and God has won, right? This is one of the things that finals will do to you, that school will do to you. It's like this battle with your mental intellect and everything. And liturgy is one of the best places to just throw it on the altar and walk away, right? So have a sense of sacred time is sacred time. And I'm not going to waver on this, and I'm not going to make any excuses about it. There was one thing that I did when I lived here as well. I used to live, and I grew up in Durham, North Carolina. And where I lived was 15 minutes from the church in Chapel Hill, and then like 20, 25 minutes from here. And so I knew that all of my friends were here. I knew that every time I was here, I'm going to go, we're going to hang out, we're going to get wings, we're going to, like, whatever. I'm going to, like, not get anything done this day. And by the time Sunday is over, it's like 4 p.m. if I go to same areas, because I just have so much that is expected of me socially. And so on the weekends that I had finals on a Monday or a Tuesday, and I was like, I need to bury into my notes and focus. I went to the Chapel Hill Church, and I'll just get my liturgy in there, right? And after that, I was like, okay, I'm good. Nobody knows me here. I maybe know like 3 people. I'm out. I took my communion. I'm done. I did my prayers. That's not something that, like, we should cultivate this sort of mentality as well. That it's okay to sacrifice some things, but don't sacrifice the liturgy. And if you have the ability to kind of move your schedule around and make it work, then make it work. All right? Next is confession regularly. And so all of us, including myself, are at ages where a lot of changes are happening, the more that the world is changing. Especially if you're entering into high school, things are constantly changing. Like if I was to ask you, those of you that are youth here, are you the same person that you were last year? I bet you 100% of you would be like, no, I wasn't the same. I thought very differently. 6 months ago, were you the same person? Likely not. And so the fact that we're changing this quickly means that my temptations are also going to be changing quickly. The devil's going to attack me in different ways. And I need to be prepared for those sort of changes. And this is where confession can come in. Confession can give you the sense of guidance that you need when you feel lost. Confession can be the sense of release that you need when you feel like you've just built up too much. And confession has always been the one thing for me that has really just, I've never walked out of confession and felt like worse. I always felt better. I'm not going to delve too much into confession, but I do need to remind us all that obviously honesty is key. Being honest with yourself first and foremost, and then being honest with God, and being honest with your confession father. Being that transparent is supposed to help, especially for me as a priest and for all of us that are priests here to take confessions. How can I help you if you're not being honest about it, right? Be obedient to your father of confession. Theoretically, you chose this person to be your father of confession, right? And if you go to, let's say, a gym and you hire a personal trainer, I know that's not the most perfect analogy, but bear with me. You should trust that they have the knowledge to train you in your personal goals, in your health goals. It's no different with the father of confession. You should have a sense of, I trust this person, and even if I don't like the answer, it's probably what I need, right? So be honest with your father of confession, because we're all changing, but as temptations are increasing, then also the need for confessing and guidance increases, and then be obedient as well. Almost done here. Next is to read. We should be reading a lot. Reading a lot. And I know in college, you're going to be reading a lot. One of the ways I kind of got around this was to listen to things instead of reading them. So there's audio Bibles I would listen to. There's audio books that I would listen to. There's sermons that I would listen to, and all these things. Am I making that noise? Okay. And all of you are all at ages now where you're entering into a time where your brain is like a sponge, right? And so if that's the case, you have to be careful what you're soaking in. But don't take it, don't lose out on your opportunity of using your sponge brain to absorb as much information as you can in a good way, right? You shouldn't just be, sorry to say this, just reading your Bible is not enough. Because the Bible itself is not clear enough for you to understand what's going on. It's just not. And so you need to have commentary. You should read things about theology, learn about history, ask about the church. I'll give you an example because Abuna Misael just walked in and he just reminded me. There was one time where I went to Abuna Misael, he may remember this, and it was like maybe sophomore year of high school, I think. And I went to Abuna and I was like, Abuna, I just want to know more about the church. I don't know anything. And Abuna was ready. He had like 3 books to recommend to me. And full disclosure, full confession to you, Abuna, I didn't finish the first book, but I started it, right? I got a benefit out of it. What that book did to me was open up my mind, and I learned a lot more, which led to me wanting to learn more and more. And then I went to more books and more things, and so on, right? What Abuna did there, which is something that was really important for me and I value, was he took advantage of the fact that my brain was a sponge. And he was like, I know books are a lot, but here, take some books, right? And that challenge was really something that helped me a lot. So we should be reading a lot as well in order to maintain our spiritual lives. I think there's 2 more. One of them is to avoid distractions, right? The one thing that we know about Zacchaeus was that he was somebody who sought after Christ, right? No matter what was the case. He had everything against him. The whole entire community hated him. And yet he was willing to make himself look like a fool, climb up a tree just to see Christ because he sought after Christ. And that spirit of seeking after Christ is what we need to cultivate. And the only way to avoid distractions is by having that spirit, is by having this desire for Christ. That I'm willing to go out of my way, look like a fool, and maybe hurt myself on the climb just to see him. This is what Zacchaeus did. I remember in college, I wasted a lot of my time on social media, like all of us tend to do. And so one year I was confessing with Abuna, and he suggested that I delete my social media just for the fast, for the great fast. And I did it, and to this day I have yet to re-download things. And it wasn't because I was fighting off the urge to re-download them. It was because I felt I don't need it anymore. One thing I kept was Facebook, because I have like family, and that's it. I wanted to keep in contact with. And so this idea of like social media being a huge distraction is a huge thing nowadays. And we're all very much distracted by it. And so if you want to maintain your spiritual life, avoid distractions. I'm not saying go to the extreme like I did, where delete it all. If you're not like me, I needed to delete it. But if you're not like that, then maybe just put a limit on it and be serious about that limit. This also, for distractions, it includes intimate relationships. When you're entering into high school or college, this is usually the time when like crushes start to happen if they haven't already started happening. And the feelings are more intensified as you get older. And the more like rationale that we get, the more we think it's possible to be in a relationship. But let me just tell you something I already said to prove to you that maybe it's not a good idea to be in a relationship right now. We change at any moment's notice. within 6 months, you might change your mind. You're not the same person that you were last year. And so if that's the case, what's to say tomorrow you might not wake up and not have feelings for this person again? And so the idea here is not to say that like you won't be ready ever. You will be at some point. But I don't decide when I'm ready. I don't decide that. I have my family helping me. I have my father confession helping me. I have the whole community helping me, guide me in that direction if that's what God calls me to. But having spiritual consistency means I'm going to avoid the things that are distracting me, even if it feels right and it feels good, which includes the intimate relationships. Last but not least, fellowship. We cannot do this alone. We cannot be Christians alone. I mentioned this before in a sermon, I think. How can I fulfill the commandments of God, like love your neighbor as yourself? How can I do that by myself? How can I love my enemies by myself? How can I have mercy if there's no one to have mercy on because I'm trying to just be by myself? Everything that the Christian life is about is its community. This includes being there for each other, forgiving each other, picking each other up whenever someone is down, and asking for help whenever I'm down. And I would expect that you all do this for each other, including the priests, including everyone here. Every human being is made in that same image and likeness. There's no difference, no matter what the church rank is. And we should be relying on each other. We have to think that the people around me in the church need me as much as I need them. The people around you in the church need you just as much as you may need them. None of us are complete without each other. And when one of us is going through a tough time, we're all supposed to drop what we're doing and help that person. This was what I felt when I lived here in Raleigh. This is what I got from here. It was a community of people who, when I was going through tough times, I knew I could rely on people here. My close circle of friends, Abuna, and so on. We have to continue this spirit, right? And when you're going through college, when you're going through high school, you're going to go through really tough times. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. And it's going to shock you when it happens. But rest assured, the church is here to pick you back up when you fall. There's nothing to be afraid of here. We should be caring about what is right, which is Christ. We should be finding a group of people that are like-minded. We shouldn't be trying to avoid spiritual conversations, even if they seem taboo, even if they seem cringy. It's okay. Have them. Don't be afraid to challenge each other. I'm not going to go into the story, but most of you know the people I grew up with here. We challenge each other constantly. And because of this, we've all grown spiritually. And so I've lived this. I'm not just speaking theory. This is literally my life experience. Yes, that's it. The most important thing, like I said, understand who you are and your identity. We're all made in the image and likeness of Christ. I am naturally in his image, but I choose to be in his likeness. And so I challenge you all, choose this as well. And if you truly choose it and value it and love him, then the balance in spiritual life will become a breeze. It won't be something you have to sit there and stress about. It'll be easy. You'll be looking at life, including your stresses, including school, through the lens of Christ. And then once you look at through that lens, everything becomes easy and small. Glory be to God forever, amen. Any questions or concerns, stones to throw at me? Good.
Thank you, Abuna. And thank you to all the speakers. And thank you for coming. Prayer. Abuna. Abuna Misael pointed at you.
In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God, amen. Through the intercessions of all the saints, Lord, hear us as we pray thankfully. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. In Christ Jesus our Lord, for thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Now may the love of God the Father, the grace of his only begotten Son, our Lord God and Savior Jesus Christ, the gift and communion of the Holy Spirit be with you all. Go in peace. The peace of the Lord be with you all. Thank you all so much. Thank you to the servants who organized this day.